Okay, so this little application just draws buildings. As you can see, there's just some houses that it builds. And so if we look through the code, what you'll see is we create a height variable which we reset on a regular basis, which changes the height of the buildings. Other than that, you'll see this code here repeats there. That's once, twice, 3 times, and there's the 4th time. So what we've learned so far is that you can actually go through a process of iteration of looping and doing this, but sometimes you want to reuse the code in multiple places, not just necessarily in a loop. And the other thing that we can do is make our code a little more readable, and we can do that by creating our own subroutines. So in this case, I'm going to go down to the bottom here. Here's the bottom of our code at this point in time, and I'm just going to write in sub, and I'll call this how about draw building, because I'm kind of creative that way. And remember that the names of your methods or your subroutines or functions should actually describe what it is that they actually do. And so all I'm going to do now is I know that there's a certain amount of code that's actually repeating, so I'm just going to cut out this first one here, and I'm going to go ahead and paste it down in here. And now I know that I can call this code from anywhere in this code. So in order to do that, let me just copy the name of this just because it makes it easier. All I have to do is I just write in call draw building, just like that. And so now what should happen is when I push the play button, it's going to set the speed, it's going to set the X, it's going to create this integer variable, and then it's going to call draw building. And what it does is it stops executing the code inside this module, and it jumps down here and it executes all these lines of code. And then as soon as it's done executing, it goes right back to this line here where we called it, and it starts executing on the next line where it resets height. Okay, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to take this bit out, because I know I can just call draw building. Alright, here we can call draw building, and here as well. So just before I go any further, now one thing you'll have noticed is that this variable height, it's underlined in red. And why is this? Well, this is where you'll have to learn a little bit about scope. And what scope is where variables exist. So basically, if I create height in here, it only exists inside this module. It only exists between submain and end-sub. It does not exist outside of there. And that's what's known as a local variable. Okay, so height isn't local to this subroutine. So there's a couple of things we can do, and this is the easiest thing, is we can create what's called a global variable. So in this case, I'm going to say dim height, and I'm going to set it equal to 0, and now I can get rid of this dim here, because now height exists as long as this module is running. So basically, height exists anywhere between this line here where it says module and this line here where it says module. So now, I got to get rid of the as integer bit there as well. And I'm going to add it up in here. Alright, so let's just see if this runs now. And there you go. So that's exactly what it does. So if you want, we can actually step through this, and so you can actually watch how this code runs. Notice it sets the speed, it sets the X, it sets the height to 40, and then it calls draw building. Now watch where that yellow line goes down to. Oh, except I pushed step over. Sorry, my bad. Let me try that one again, because you want to do the step into. Here I'm going to do the step into, and notice it now goes down to draw building. And we can step over that, and it goes through all this, and it goes back up to, oh, it's at the end sub, step over that, and look, it goes right back up to this one and carries on. Alright, so go on to the next exercise, and this has kind of been an introduction to subroutines, but you also have to kind of understand scope in order to make this work. Now this global variable isn't the best thing in the world, but it works at this point in time, and it's much easier to understand than parameters, but we'll be getting to that next. Alright, so go on to the next exercise.